Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to another episode of the Infertile Diagnosis. I'm your host, Monica Cox, along with Sarah Clark, and we're here to support, inspire, and educate those who are all consumed with the label of infertility. We totally know how you're feeling. Both Sarah and I were diagnosed with a form of infertility before we hit our 30s. We let the fertility experts dictate our past and ignored what our bodies were trying to tell us for far too long. So here we are, helping you take control of your infertile diagnosis.
This episode of the Infertile Diagnosis is brought to you by Fertile Couples Coaching Program. This program is a unique program that will allow you to take a targeted approach to your fertility. We have found that including your partner in the program sets you up for success as you embark on your family building journey. Your partner may deal with infertility differently than you, but that does not mean they are not equally impacted. This program will layer in functional medicine strategies that focus on your health and well-being while giving you both a positive outlook for the future. Go to fabfertile.com, that's FABfertile.com, and click on Book a Free Call. That's fabfertile, FABfertile.com, and click on Book a Free Call.
Okay. Hello, we are now on episode 10 of the Infertile Diagnosis. Thank you so much for listening. We have hit over 1,000 listens, so I think that's pretty good for this wee little podcast. Today we are going to talk about why isn't my fertility diet working for me? Because as we all know, we want to be pregnant yesterday. We feel like we've put in a lot of hard work with changing things up, and even 3-6 months down the line, we're still not pregnant. So we want to dive into kind of a lot of reasons why this could happen, right? And before we continue on, I wanted to thank Sarah for sponsoring this episode.
Thank you.
So, why do you think, what's your kind of number one go-to why a fertility diet isn't working for someone?
Yeah, I just think the fertility diet is well, especially, okay, if you look at the Harvard nurses study, which is the fertility diet is based on, so a study of over 18,000 nurses over the course of 8 years really gave you those, I think there's like 10 different things to do. Some of those things in there are good, but from a functional standpoint, we just take it further. So like, I think one of the recommendations in there is to make sure you have complex carbs. Well, to me, before you dig into the complex carb thing and do your whole wheat and all that, make sure you don't have a sensitivity to gluten. I would say a lot of people that we work with, I'd say the majority of people that we work with, there's a sensitivity to gluten. So that piece is missed. People are like digging into the, all the 7 grains and the 12 grains and all these different grains, but that's an issue. The other one on the fertility diet recommendations, the Harvard study talks about eating full fat dairy. My thing is, like, I think it's over 75% of people are intolerant to dairy. So first of all, discover to see if you have a sensitivity to dairy by doing the elimination diet, or you can do a food sensitivity test. Start with the elimination diet first before you go into like raw organic milk. If you do go back, because basically in the study it talks about not doing skim milk. So because the prolactin in the skim milk, then that's going to impact your hormones. So so those first 2 things, looking at it from a functional standpoint, like we would dig deeper with, that's just like the surface level. And then so basic, decent recommendations, but go deeper because there could be food sensitivities. And they talk about caffeine, they talk about like pop or soda, making sure that that's, I think it was in the study they talked about, I don't have the study in front of me, but I'm just looking over there because the book's over there. But they talked about not having that soda. Well, what was it? The sugar? I guess it's the sugar that's in there that's impacting your fertility. So like there's pieces of it that are good, but We take an individualized approach in functional medicine.
And it's like a relatively old study, right? It's
Yeah,
an old way of thinking about nutrition where one, you lumped everyone in to the same mold
yeah,
and that do the same thing. And then two, it's just a very old way, school of thinking of about food and about what is actually healthy for us. And I think a lot of people get caught up on all these new diet fads too, like keto, paleo, even AIP, which is the autoimmune paleo. There's GAPS, one other food, the Whole 30. So you get like sucked into this one way of diet and you see it working for everyone else, and you're like, well, why isn't it working for me? And the simple answer is it's not the right diet for you.
no, exactly.
I'm like a living proving case of all that. I went paleo for a year, and I still didn't get pregnant. And I would have never got pregnant on a paleo diet, even though that is for a lot of people a great diet, low inflammation. It does wonders for people. For me, I had to go even deeper and figure out that I couldn't eat tomatoes, paprika, and normal healthy things. And it's kind of a mindset trip, right? When you realize you can't eat healthy food.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I think with that, back to the diet piece there with the keto, the paleo, the vegan, the like all these things, those diets have worked for someone because that's why they were developed. They have worked for someone, but they may not work for you. And that's why like we always start everyone with the elimination diet.
Yeah.
Like I think everyone should do the elimination diet. Take out the top allergens. I probably talked about it before, but dairy, gluten, soy, corn, peanuts, eggs. Take them out for 10 days, systematically reintroduce them, see how the foods impact your body, and really take an individual approach to this because parts of keto could be good, but if you're doing dairy keto, maybe you have a dairy sensitivity. Everyone's like, woo, keto, I get lots of cheese. If you're saying woohoo, I get a lot of cheese, that could be an issue because potentially the thing that you can't live without is the thing that you're most sensitive to.
Right.
You could be like having so much, and keto is paleo on steroids, but paleo could be maybe it's like just too much meat.
Yeah.
I personally, I do need meat, but I don't need like heaping quantities at every meal. It just makes me feel heavy and I just don't feel great. So it's,
Yeah. I don't understand this whole wrapped up. I was actually at dinner with a woman the other day, and she was talking about when she was like weightlifting and how, she was very controlled with her portions and talking about ounces and this much and that much. And I don't like, for me, I feel like that's a very scary place to go with your food. I think it's we do have to hyper focus on our food when we're trying to figure out our food sensitivities and what works for us. But those diets that tell you you can only have a certain portion of this is once again not doing any justice to you, because you might need a little bit less or you might need a little bit more. And that's why the diet isn't working, and you're not listening to yourself and you're just following along with the march.
yeah, to me, don't count calories, count chemicals.
Yeah.
I like that one where it's because everyone gets like, oh my goodness, like the weight thing and just focused on the complete wrong thing. I did that. I did like after I had my daughter, I went on Weight Watchers because I had like extra 40 pounds. I'm like, what am I doing? And I counted all these calories. I was doing like Aunt Jemima syrup and all this junk that I ate. Like I did that Aunt Jemima syrup for years until I finally went back to maple syrup, which I grew up with. I'm like, damn, why was I eating high fructose corn syrup? Like just garbage. But yeah, I think I think it's good to explore some of those other diets, and paleo, keto, plant-based vegan could be a doorway into actually looking at eating, not processed food, so real food. But for fertility, and everyone typically on fertility, doesn't matter if you're 28 or 38, you're past the point of when you want to expand your family. To me, just taking a more targeted approach, it'll just get faster results. Like you can be doing a whole whack of stuff, but it just not getting the results that you want.
Yeah, exactly. With the elimination diet, what about eliminating, like your canola oils and, all your hidden stuff in those, packages that nowadays I feel like it's harder for people to eat a clean diet because the marketing companies have got onto this whole health, fitness, paleo, you see on your packets 30 whole approved and right. And I've talked about this before. I got sucked into it when I moved to Hawaii. One, because it's just a stressful time moving countries anyways. But I have a vegan store and I have a Whole Foods I can throw rocks at. And, I just went in thinking healthy. I'm eating healthy. And I saw, even though I was started to eat a little bit more corn and rice in my diet, I started seeing my health decline again. And I had to check myself, like, okay, what are you doing? Start looking at the packets of what you're eating again. And I'm like, shit, I'm like guzzling canola oil.
Oh yeah.
Because I got sucked into this is healthy, right? So during the elimination diet, is that something that you guys do as well? Do you focus on like, don't buy packets?
Yeah, it's kind of like that Michael Palin thing, where if your great grandmother is like, I don't understand what that ingredient is, don't have it. Or if it's got more than 5 ingredients, you don't want to have it. But really, like the elimination diet, and also like there's no processed sugar, and you want to cut out those oils that we talked about. You want to have the good fats, like the olive oil, the sesame oil, the coconut oil, avocado oil, like those good oils. I know, and I was in a gluten-free chip phase there, which was like canola oil. I'm like,
Right.
yeah, we've all been there. Like, it's not about perfection, but it's just,
No, it's not. Yeah, it's
oh, wow.
about being aware, right?
You're like, oh wait, I feel like garbage. Why? And to dig into it. But I think those diets can be like, there's a lot of promotion, I guess, behind, or PR behind those diets, and people, I can't tell you the number of people in the beginning of 2019 that I spoke to that were on keto. Like, I am freaking telling you, I must have, like, the amount of people I spoke to, they're like, I'm doing the keto diet, because everyone's like, woo, it's January, February, I'm gonna do the keto. And then, some people it works, other people, they lost their periods. Like, it does not work for everybody.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of keto, especially for fertility. I think there's certain circumstances, and I've said this on the podcast before, I was put on a keto diet not knowing what it was. And yeah, like I had always been regular, and all of a sudden my cycles were wonky and I was thin as fuck. And even though subconsciously I'm like, woohoo, I'm trying to get a baby on board. Like, who's going to want to live in a skeleton? Like, I need something on me to support this baby. So it was bad all around for me. But yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's the thing with diets and what we're trying to promote. And I think maybe a lot of people are openly welcoming now is, just eat real food. And it's harder said than done. And as we've just both said, like, we dive into canola oil every once in a while. But when you're going through infertility, and I know when I was going through my journey, I was hardcore about it. I made sure what I was eating was the right thing, because I was desperate. And I didn't really have any guidance or support of what I should be doing, or that it was okay to, have a treat every once in a while. I know when I was pregnant with my first son and I had figured out that nightshades were causing the issue, I was petrified to have a nightshade because I thought I would miscarry. And it was a really shitty thing to go through because it doesn't work like that, right? It doesn't, if you have one, for me, I'm not, it's different if you're allergic to peanuts and you have a huge reaction and you need an EpiPen. But we're talking about, sensitivities that aren't, going to cause life and death. But in your mind, you get to that place where, and it's a scary place to be.
Yeah, because because it's like the immediate reaction. So the IgE, that's the one you go to the allergist and you get tested for. And my son he's anaphylactic to kiwi. And a lot of people, with peanuts, or so the anaphylactic thing with the EpiPen, that's no joke. these are these delayed reactions, and you never really connect it. That's why the majority of people I speak to, I don't have a food sensitivity, I'm fine. Meanwhile, everyone that we speak to, there's a food sensitivity going on. But it could be, sensitive to your favorite foods, which then it's like leaky gut and digging into those gut issues. But I just think I find a lot of people will ignore the food piece, or they will have done a bunch of things and say it doesn't work. That's why like having like that proven like protocol where like there's steps and there's testing and there's things to wait to, so you don't mess around, and you could try all these different diets, and some people obviously are successful, but why waste time?
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like if you've been at it, like I know I was at it for years and years and years, and I was willing to go, okay, I'll go a next step. I'll wipe it clean and look at it from a different perspective of where I need to go. And I think fortunate for anyone struggling right now is that you have people like us that have done it. You don't have to go back to the drawing board or struggle for a year doing paleo and know that you need more. There are ways, and there's plenty of books out there too that are just getting the message across a lot clearer. I know that for me, let's say about 4 or 5 years ago, I would get asked, what do you think about Zeta West? And I think she's amazing. I think what her clinic is doing is amazing. But her books just were really basic on the nutrition stuff. And she was still like saying, have your whole grains and this. And I was just like, no, people with autoimmune issues need to look into that. They need to know whether or not they can have those. And she's just done I'll grab it real quick. The backlog to the updated version of Is Your Body Baby Friendly? And if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see it. But so this is how I kind of discovered I had an autoimmune issue, was from this book. I was like, right, there's something going on. And she's done the nutrition part, like the holistic kind of side, because he's still, well, he's passed away now, but what his practice is still about, the drugs and stuff. But she's changed her mind. She's changed her tune on wheat and gluten having a big effect, and even on the nightshades with people with autoimmune issues. So I was really pleased to see that, because she's huge, right? Like if you're going through IVF, most people know who Zeta West is, whether you go to her clinic or pick up one of her books. So I was really happy to see that the mindset is changing with that. Okay, so we're eating a really good diet. Maybe we have, are you still there?
Yep.
Okay. Maybe we have, we feel good, we feel better on it, but it's still not clicking. So you mentioned a little bit about gut issues. So let's dive into like leaky gut first of all. So
yeah, like to me, if you've gone gluten-free and dairy-free for a minimum of 60 days, 90 days, that's minimum of 60 days, and you're still not pregnant, like, and you're 100% gluten and dairy-free, because it doesn't work, dairy-free and dairy light doesn't work. So gluten light and the dairy light doesn't work, because if the body still has a sensitivity to it, it's the body's going to mount an immune response, and there's still inflammation there. So to me, it's to dig further with, is there a gut infection? So there's different stressors on your body. Of food sensitivity is a stressor, gut infections a stressor, environmental toxins like your personal care, your cleaning chemicals, there's all those. What's the other one? The structural stressor and the mental emotional one. So I think a lot of the ones that are those 5 stressors, structural stressor is a misalignment in your body, be it a pinched nerve or something out of alignment in your body. I think a lot of people think of a stressor in infertility, just the mental emotional side of it. So with the food sensitivity, the gut infection, the environmental toxins, those are like 3 of the main ones that we focus on. Obviously also the mental emotional, but looking into a gut infection, so we do the GI map stool test.
Yep.
Looks at DNA your stool, and then looks at, I would say the majority of people we work with, probably the same with you, it's like they have a parasite, bacterial infection, or a fungal infection. Like there's something going on in the gut
Yep.
And, you know,
And that basically what that means is that even though you're eating all this amazing food, your gut is not working properly. So it cannot, assimilate it to give you the nutrients that you're eating. And so it's really important. And I know people are probably so sick of me banging on gut health, but, and it was the cornerstone of my infertility. Like, it's crazy to think that my gut was making me infertile. And I think for a lot of us, that is the issue. If you think about it, how do you do anything in life, like living wise, right? You put it in your mouth and it goes to your gut. Your vitamins, your food, your water, your drugs, for the most part, your gut has to handle that shit. And if it's not healthy and if it's not working in the way it should, it's not going to handle it properly. And then that's where you get even the more inflammation, and your beautiful right diet just isn't working for you.
Yeah, you're not absorbing. You can eat that wonderful diet, you're not absorbing all those nutrients. So like if you've been on antibiotics like I was for all those sinusitis and bladder infections, so again, destroying all the benefit, the good and the bad bacteria in the gut. I was on hormonal birth control pills for like 10 years, because after being diagnosed with POF, that's what they say, go on the birth control pill. And I was also on it before I was diagnosed with POF, which, did it trigger that? I don't know. So that then disrupts the health of your gut, predisposing you to those gut infections and intestinal permeability. So and then stress too. Like, so there's a bunch of things that will then predispose you to gut infections. But those are kind of the main ones we see, as the antibiotics, the long-term hormonal birth control, and then obviously stress, long-term stress, and then going through infertility. Most people are coming to see me after like 2 years of struggling. So the mental emotional side of it, and to dig into this gut health, and we always find some sort of gut infection.
Yeah, infection or leaky gut. And the thing is that a lot of your hormones, need a healthy gut to be healthy hormones. So it's one and the same. We need to really start looking at our fertility issues as a huge whole body health issue. To fix these things, like, I just think, like, you're not going to go like rub cream all over your ovaries, or you're not going to like pop a pill up your vagina to like fix your ovaries, right? You put it in your mouth. I think, like, what I'm laughing because, like, I think when you like realize this and you actually look